everybody. Thank you for coming out in all this snow. We're really happy to have you here. My name is Maggie. I'm the education coordinator here at the Kickapoo Valley Reserve. We're really excited to have River Valley Raptors back again this year. This is our Driftless Dialogue series. Sorry, smoke. So this Fireside Talk is actually part of a monthly series that we do. Every month we have presentations here at the Reserve. Usually they're inside, but we'd have this nice fireside here. It's nice and toasty for you guys, so we're gonna have it outside today. This is made possible by a grant from the Ralph E. Nuzum Reforestation Fund, which is administered through the College of Agricultural and Life Sciences and supported by the Friends of the Kickapoo Valley Reserve. So we'd like to thank those people for making this possible and providing this free for you guys. Abby and Joe, the River Valley Raptors, have been part of our winter festival for many years, so we're really excited to have them back. So please welcome River Valley Raptors.
Awesome. So yeah, my name is Joe Kumrie. This is Lila Kumrie, Raptor handler in training. So she's going to help out today. And yeah, I'm one of the founders. Me and my wife founded River Valley Raptors. We're a nonprofit 501c3 education company, education organization that travels around and teaches people about raptors, about ecology in the driftless area, and kind of the whole shebang. And the way we do that is by using live birds of prey to describe their biology and how they interact with the world around us. So we brought a couple of birds with us today to share with you guys, and we'll see how it works outside with the wind and the people and the dogs, and it's always an adventure. This is usually our first program we do of the year, and we take off. Our programs are pretty steady all summer, and then we take off the fall to start hunting with our birds and stuff, and this is usually the first program we come to in the year. So our birds are usually getting they're out of shape for doing programs, so we might see some interesting stuff from them today. Anyways, yeah, a little bit about us before we get started. I'll keep it short. We started this about 7 years ago or so. This whole journey we've been on, and me and my wife both have worked at Raptor places previously, and we moved back to this area, or we live in Buffalo City, Wisconsin, which is between Winona and Nelson Bridges on the Mississippi River. We're both from that area. We just love the driftless. We moved to the central part of the state for a while, and that was flatter than a pancake, so we decided to come back and actually see topography. And we always were going to have raptors because we were falconers and we hunt with them. We decided, well, we'd try to kick it off and see if we can do something with it. And it started off slow like everything does, but now last year we did 112 programs just in the months of the summer. And this always kicks off our year for our program, so we get more requests for programs than just me or my wife can fulfill. Which is awesome, and it's all word of mouth. I've never advertised one single thing. It's all you guys going back to your kids' school, or going back to your church group, or going back to wherever, 4-H, and going, hey, I saw this cool thing, and we really appreciate that. That's how we get to do what we love and do, and continue that generationally. So without further ado, we're gonna get our first bird out. My first bird's in this box right here. And she's going to be one of the most common species of raptors that you could find around Wisconsin, Minnesota, in the upper Midwest. So you look at that might be an issue. We'll see. Nah, it's okay. We'll figure it out as it goes. If you think about all the raptors you know out there, so just think about them all in your head. You can categorize those raptors into 4 main groups. You can put them usually into 4 main categories, or 4 main groups of raptors. What are those groups? Anybody know? We were talking about the ones that sit in the trees on the river. Oh, eagles is one big group. Hawks, owls, and falcons. Yep. So eagles, hawks, owls, and falcons are our 4 main groups of raptors. Our first bird we're going to bring out, she's a type of hawk. Now we have 7 species of hawks that we can find. What's the most common species of hawk that you can find in Wisconsin? a red-tailed hawk, or a lot of people call them a chicken hawk. They're the same bird, that's just what people call them as chicken hawks because they kill chickens a lot, basically. But we do have 6 other species. But the first bird I'm going to bring out here is going to be a red-tailed. You just want to sit down and think for a second? Hiya. Come on. Come on. We'll try to do this with my insulated glove, little glove on. So this bird's name is Rosita, and Rosita's a red-tailed hawk. Now she's got a little bit different coloration than you might think the typical red-tailed hawk has, but she's still young. She's less than 1 year old, so she won't get the red tail until this next summer. So she doesn't have a red tail. She's got this beautiful kind of light brown barred tail that you can see. So they won't get that red until their 2nd year of life. So now Rosita also has something that's weird. She jingles. That's not a normal red-tailed hawk trait. That's an additional. That's an add-on option that you can get for a red tail. She is a falconry bird as well as an educator, as well as an ambassador. So she will fly free and go out and hunt rabbits and squirrels with us. And that bell is so I can follow her and so I can hear where she moves. If you think of her sitting in a tree like that in a woodland, you're not seeing her. You're not following her just by watching her. So as she flies, I can hear that bell fly around, and I can kind of audibly figure out where she is as I can track her. So red-tailed hawks, like Rosita, are perfect examples of what makes raptors raptors. So if you think about birds of prey, think about hawks and eagles and falcons versus, say, the birds you see at your bird feeder. So blue jays, cardinals, robins, things like that. There's 3 main things that raptors have, 3 main body parts essentially that raptors have that those little Tweety birds don't have. Right? What are those? What's one? Well, they all got beaks. What's different about her beak? Oh, big toenails. Yeah, so big talons, we call them. Yep. So gripping, grasping talons, right? And strong gripping feet. That's exactly what makes a raptor, right? That's her weapons. That's how she catches things and how she kills things is by her feet. Okay, she's got hundreds of pounds of crushing power in her feet, and that is how she secures her prey. Okay, what's another thing? So we got talons, that's a major one. What else is different from her than a blue jay? Think about a blue jay in your mind. What else is different? The beak is hooked, yeah. So all birds have beaks, but their beaks are shaped in a way that allows them to eat the different foods they eat, right? So her beak has a hook to it. So her beak is used as a meat hook. So these birds eat meat, there's nothing else. So she'll catch her prey and then use that beak to rip and tear it apart. That's exactly what that beak is used for. And what's the third thing you think? Let's sit it on her. I got them covered up right now. Yeah, so it's her eyes. And so I got them covered, her eyes covered with a hood, right? So this is a falconry piece of equipment that keeps them calm and keeps them, kind of in a state of pause. She's absolutely awake. She's not sleeping. You can see she's moving around and trying to figure out what's going on. But this just keeps her her brain shut off. So nice. If you think about their eyes, 80% of her brain is dedicated to interpreting pictures and figuring out what she's seeing. 80% of her mental capacity is towards sight. Now I can place a hood on her head and eliminate her sight, essentially. That shuts off 80% of her brain. So she's she's still there, but her brain isn't processing nearly as much, so it's kind of in a pause mode. So we can take the hood off. And now her brain is thinking. You can see her brain is just activated, right? So those big eyes can see not only binocularly like we can, so she has 3D vision. She can judge depth of field. She can catch things very effectively. but she can also see in monocular vision. She's gonna poop. Or not. Not on me. Turn around. She can also see monocularly in a wide scanning type of vision. So her field of vision can be super wide, and that's when she's flying, she can see in kind of a singular picture, and that's a scanning type of vision. So she can pick out movement in that monocular view, and she can switch to binocular view and zoom in on it. Don't get frisky, right? So her eyeballs are about the same size as her brain, so to put it in perspective. So her brain's not very big, but her eyeballs are. So she can, that's definitely her best sense overall, is her eyesight. So those are the three things that make raptors raptors. Straw gripping, grasping feet, that hooked beak, and then that amazing eyesight. And all raptors will have those three adaptations. So a little bit more about Rosita before we get on to the next bird. I trapped Rosita out of the wild mid-October. So I've only had her for a few months. Now through my falconry license and my permits, I am totally legal for us to do so. So we took her to be a falconry bird. And so she is one of our hunting birds, and she's really good at catching rabbits, decent at catching squirrels. And so she's our hunting partner. So we travel around and hunt different items with each other, right? So it's kind of amazing to believe just a couple months ago she was flying free and totally fearful of people, and now she's sitting here staring at you guys. So, any questions about this bird for you? She's less than one. So she would have hatched maybe May or June of last year. So she's, yeah, yep. So the younger they are, right? So I caught her in her first year of life. The more impressionable they are. They're not set in their ways, so to speak. It's easier to hone their skills to work with people rather than try to fight against what they've already learned, being so scared of people.
How do you capture them?
Yeah, well, she's not a red-tailed retriever. She don't bring the rabbit back. But yeah, she's learned over the time that I'm here to help. I'm not here to steal anything from her. We're partners in this endeavor, so she'll catch it and hold it, and I'll go in and help her with it. And then she'll get pieces off it, and I'll give pieces out of my bag to her, and then she'll trade me for what I got out of my bag. And then she'll let me have the rabbit, and we can go catch another one. Yep. There was a question over here somewhere.
How do you capture a bird?
Yeah, so usually you got to use some kind of bait. In her case, it was a pigeon. A lot of cases, they're mice as bait. And then we have specialized traps that they come in and try to capture the pigeon or try to capture the mouse, and then their feet get snagged essentially in a lot of the traps. Yep.
Besides the tail color, are there any color differentiations? It seems like her head's a lot lighter than.
Yeah, so she as an individual is light in coloration, lighter than normal red tails. A lot of young red tails will have a belly band, a very dark belly band. Now you can see she's got kind of this dotting across her belly here. That's very typical of a juvenile. Now she's a very light phase individual. So they all have different colorations, just like we have different hair colors and everything like that. So do red tails. So, but yeah, typically that very dark belly band with a very white throat patch here underneath on her breast, and then her eyes are lighter in color than an adult. Yep.
Is that greenish bridge pretty common?
Yep, so that above her beak, that's called her cere. And her cere is they could either be any range from really green to bright yellow. And that's all dependent on the food they eat.
Oh.
So the type of food they eat can really yellow up her cere or make it darker in color. Where are you going? So, any last questions before we get the next bird out?
Bird.
And we're going to get a little bit of help with our future raptor handler on this next bird. So I was told to mention something about night skies.
Yes.
Okay, so this bird fits perfectly in with our night skies theme that Kickapoo Valley does here. So what type of bird do you think that would be? It fits in with the nighttime. An owl, yeah. So we have 11 species of owls that live in Wisconsin. A couple of them are migratory, but we can find 11 different species of owls in Wisconsin throughout the year. This is the smallest species you're going to find in Wisconsin. So we'll go ahead and get it out.
Do you think it's the same one?
The ferocious saw-whet owl. So this bird's name is Winnie, and Winnie is a northern saw-whet owl. She's the smallest species of owl in Wisconsin and Minnesota, the upper Midwest. Second smallest in North America. Keep your hand. Don't bite. And they're feisty. They got like Chihuahua syndrome, right? So little bird, big attitude. Now, saw-whet owls are very common in the state of Wisconsin, but just like with any owls, it's hard to see. And even so with saw-whet owls, they're harder to see because they're so small. They come through in large migrations, especially through central Wisconsin, in the hundreds of thousands. They'll migrate through, coming from northern Canada down through. There's a big banding station in Stevens Point that bands thousands of them a year. Catch them at nighttime. So one of the neat things about owls, you guys have heard they have this silent flight adaptation. Yeah, so if you haven't, these owls are capable of flying completely silently. There's no sound that these birds make when they fly. Now that acts as a couple of things. There's a couple of reasons why that's for. One, they're hunting at night, and their prey is using their ears and using their hearing to hear what's sneaking up on them or hear what's coming. So if their flight is silent, they can sneak in on a, make sure you're paying attention, they can sneak in on their prey and capture it more effectively. Also, they use their hearing for locating prey. So an owl's main sense is their hearing. So as they're flying, if they're making all this noise in their ears while they're flapping their wings, they wouldn't be able to hear what's around them. So it's a kind of a two-edged sword. They not only silent to sneak up on their prey, but they're silent so they can hear their own prey. Now, most other raptors can hear fairly well in terms of other animals. They have about the same hearing as we do. So like the red tail, she can hear the same pitches and frequencies as people can. But these birds, owls specifically, they can hear a mouse under 18 inches of snow. And without ever seeing it, capture that mouse under, not this little one, but like a great horned owl. They can hear them out under a couple feet of snow. Huh? You're cold? Yeah, I'm cold too. Here, I'll take her and then you can go inside, okay? All right, you can go inside. Now I got her. Now, you settle down, you're feisty. Yeah, call an audible. All right. Now this little girl is pretty special for us at River Valley Raptors. She was actually a captive bred bird, so we talked about catching red-tailed out of the wild. We actually bred her mom and dad in captivity. So we have the mom and dad pair. They bred, laid eggs, and we raised her from when she was only like 7 days old. And as far as we know, in the United States, she's the first captive bred saw-whet owl in the country, and one of the only ones to be produced. So as far as we understand, she's one of two. We bred two of them. We hatched two of them. We sent her sister to Cascades Raptor Center in Oregon, where we got the parents from. So they got the sister. So she's pretty special. She's our first and only one to be produced so far. So. Any questions about this little girl? Well, I think for a second. Yeah, what does she eat? What do you think she eats out in the wild? Mice. Lots of small mammals. Yeah, mice and voles. They actually eat a lot of insects too. But that's pretty much their diet, small mammals and some insects. Yep, got to be a pretty small mouse.
Does it have a call?
They do.
Can you imitate it?
Yeah, I can. So that actually ties in with their name. You know, how they get the name saw-whet owl. Well, their sound sounds like whoop, 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 whoop. It's just this repeating hoot, single tone hoot the whole time. So in early centuries when people were first coming over here, especially the loggers in the late 1700s, 1800s, and they were logging the northern hemisphere of this country, they would hear this sound, and they didn't quite know what it was. When they were using their double crossbuck saws, it would make a similar sound. When the saw made the sound, they knew they had to wet it with oil. So they had to wet their saw for that sound to stop. So the owl made the similar sound, so they call them a saw-whet owl. It's kind of neat. But yeah, it's just
Is it a pretty quiet call?
no.
It's pretty loud?
Yep, it's pretty loud.
Disproportionate to its size?
Yeah,
You think?
yeah. That's actually how we call them in to band them and to net them. Is they'll broadcast that call,
Really?
and then they'll come into a mist net we got set up, and they'll get captured that way. Yeah.
This one, how
So
old is it?
Winnie is now 3.
3. That's
Yep.
full size. Then?
That's full grown. Yep, she's not getting any bigger than this.
How long do they live?
So raptors are the reverse of dogs, right? So you think about this great big Great Dane, the best dogs ever, right? The big ones, they don't live very long, right? For a Great Dane, you might get 8-9 years. A Labrador, 12 to 15, depending. That little Chihuahua thing that you got, that'll never die. They're reverse. So the smaller the raptor you are, the shorter the lifespan you have, because you are prey for other things, right? So saw-whet owl in the wild, they've seen them maybe 8 to 10 years old, but really it's like 6. 5 to 8, I would say, is an average lifespan for a saw-whet owl. Now, in our care at our facility, she could probably get to 12 to 15 if we play our cards right, but still not that long of a lifespan. If I were to keep that red tail her whole life, she'd live to be 30.
Wow.
So, what? Yeah. Well, I don't know. We'll find that later. Go make a s'more. Oh, go do it then.
How far do they migrate?
They'll migrate hundreds of miles. So they're coming from mid to northern Canada, and they'll go to mid-continental United States. So they'll go to Kentucky, Tennessee. They're not crossing the Gulf of Mexico, not making huge migrations, but they're making 1,000-mile migration or so. Yep.
What's the estimated population size in North America?
That I don't have the answer to that question. Estimated population size in North America. They are an owl of least concern. So they're not endangered, they're not threatened, they're just living their life there. So, you got a question? Yeah. Where does she live? He's a woodland owl, so he'll live in the forests and in the woods of northern Wisconsin and into Canada. Yeah.
So we wouldn't have them around here then?
Yeah, we will. Yep. Smaller populations during their breeding season, but they're come through in the fall. Yep. Yep. Any last questions? I'll get the next bird out so we don't freeze. Alrighty. Now the last bird. This is going to be the handful. If we have a handful bird, this is going to be it. So the last bird we have is a member of the falcon family. We have 3 species that we can find in Wisconsin, 3 members of falcons. Does anybody know any species of falcons?
Merlin.
What happened to that? Right?
We have a peregrine, we have a merlin. Gyr falcons are Arctic birds that migrate here. We don't necessarily have them in Wisconsin. I don't consider them a Wisconsin bird because they're super rare migrants if they do come down. Oh, really? Yeah, then we have an American kestrel. That's the 3rd one. Yep. So I'll go ahead and get this girl out. She's probably going to come shooting out of here. Yep. Oh, you're all tangled up. So the thing about Merlins is you hear them before you see them. And that's specifically with them out in the wild. So, yeah. This bird's name is Rocket.
She is a rocket.
Yes, she is. They are very fast. Now, Merlin Falcons are found in Wisconsin. The majority of their range is like north of Stevens Point, north of Eau Claire, Stevens Point line. However, I have seen them nesting as far south as like Madison. So they're like everything. Their range is increasing, but the primary range for them is northern Wisconsin. Now they are a forest falcon. That's not typical of falcons in the world. They're one of the few species that actually nest in stick-built nests in forests. So these birds are hunting smaller birds and lots of actually insects, lots of dragonflies. They typically nest around a lot of the lakes in northern Wisconsin, northern Minnesota. So they're actually keying in on dragonfly hatches and nymph hatches and things like that to keep them fed year round. Sorry, the smoke really got in my face. Now Merlins are the medium-sized falcon that we have. The bigger being the peregrine, the smaller being the kestrel, the American kestrel. And I actually just saw kestrels on my drive here today. So they stay around all winter long. And so do Merlins for the most part. We have a Merlin living in Buffalo City for the winter. She's eating our songbirds at our bird feeder. But I'm happy to feed her. If she's eating sparrows, that's fine with me. Now falcons in general are loud and aerobatic, and the one thing falcons are good at is going fast. Their body's designed for speed. The peregrine falcon is the fastest animal on the planet in forward motion. They can reach speeds of over 240 miles an hour. Now this little girl's not quite going that fast, but she still can outpace your pickup down the freeway fairly easily. They're just built for speed. Everything about them is designed for going fast and flying down their prey. Now the other birds we brought out, the red tail and the saw-whet owl, they're, I would say, more ambush type ground predators. So they're capturing stuff that's on the ground. You know, like the red tail's catching a rabbit that's running across the ground. The saw-whet, same thing, a mouse running through the grass or whatever. Falcons are catching birds on the wing while they're flying. Same thing with dragonflies. They're catching them while they're flying. So they're super agile, super aerobatic. And be able to make those tight twists and turns to capture small birds and other flying insects. Now, one of the things you'll maybe notice about her versus the other two is her super long toes. That's one of the other things that makes falcons special, is those really long, slender toes. Those are made for grabbing hunks of feather and grabbing, those very those very acrobatic prey. You know, they're just meant to reach out and just grab a hold of something. So they got a little bit bigger of a grab than the other birds do. Yeah. Yep, I can see you got to come in the house, don't you? Yep.
That she maybe not like the smoke.
That could be it, or it could be I haven't really handled her and worked with her for a couple of months now. So it's the constant attention and the constant handling and training that we do with these birds that keeps them calm and keeps them, working with us and doing that. So I haven't really messed with her for a while. So she's gonna come in the house and get to be around us while we're watching TV, and that'll reacclimate her quite a bit. So she'll come back. So, any questions about this girl? You got one? Yeah, it's a good question. Rocket is 8, and Rocket's actually the first bird that we got before we even had our name, River Valley Raptors. We had her. She was the first bird of River Valley Raptors. She's the start of the whole deal, and she'll live probably to be 12 or so, 12 to 15, I would say she'll live to be. Yep. Any other questions? No? Well, thanks for coming out and talking with me and sitting and being cold and everything like that. So if you have any questions, feel free to come up afterwards and ask.